Welcome, Keystone family, and particularly the ukulele groups. This is Mr. Gerry come to you in week number 3. Amazing how this time is passing. But what we want to do on the ukulele is explore 2 different things today. And one, of course, is again adding more rhythm to our right hand strum. And the other one is the surprise that you've all been waiting for, but I'm going to make you wait. Now, we're going to turn to the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, because that's a very appropriate song to be singing while we are all wondering what's going on here, but we don't need to worry because we know that He does have everything in control. So when we look at the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, we have 2 chords, our C chord and our G7 chord. And of course, from previous lessons, remember the most important thing is to keep the steady, that doesn't speed or slow, but stays the same. And that's how we play. Yes, okay. Thank you, my dear. She's whispering off in the background there. Even she knows that. So when you begin any song, the first thing you want to do is practice the 2 chords. How quickly can I go from a C chord to a G7 chord? And the speed or the tempo that you can switch between those 2 chords is the tempo you now use, because you can get to that chord in that time. See how that works? Now, I'm just going to go through it. You can work out your timing and tempos on your own, but we're going to do the song first of all with just a downstroke, and it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 Okay. Now, after we get the nice steady beat and we can change the chords and not have to stop or pause to play that next chord, if you do, you slow it down and get it to the tempo where you can switch to that chord without pausing. So the next thing we do is, that was, if you look on the bottom of the page, that was strum number 2, where we're just going 1, 2, 3, 4 and playing on all the quarter notes. Now, strum number, well, it says bass strum. I've got to fix that. So what that actually is playing beat number 1 with a downstroke, beat number 2 with a downstroke, up on the beat after 2, down on 3, and again down on 4, and an upstroke after 4. So it's 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and we've talked about this, how you want to just keep your right hand, your strumming hand, going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and keeping that pattern, and just applying the strum, applying your pick, applying your finger, applying your thumb, whatever you're strumming with, on that particular down or up stroke. So now the song would sound like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 There. And you can be practicing that song and any of the other songs that use the C and the G7 chords. And now, the surprise you've all been waiting for. Let me put this over here. See, one of the reasons why it's so important that we learn where the notes are, and especially with the ukulele, because the ukulele is more of a rhythmic, accompanying, strumming kind of a instrument. But in order to add that extra element, or kind of like the extra 2 strings that you'd find on a guitar, you want to use the bass. And this, of course, is a ukulele bass. Let me take this off here. So the ukulele bass is kind of like a regular bass, but much smaller. See, here's, yeah, that's a regular bass there. Okay, so with a ukulele bass, what you have is the same tuning now, actually of a guitar, not of a ukulele. So your first string here is the G, and then we have the D, and the A, and the E. And those are actually the same, no they're not. I'll ignore that part. Okay, so, but they're the same as the 4 bass notes on the guitar. I was thinking, does the bigger ukes have it? He goes, no, they're the 4 treble strings. Anyway, so what we want to remember on our notes is that if the low string is E, of course, then a half step up is F, and a whole step up is G, and a whole step up is A, but the next string is also the A. And so then we have a whole step up, 2nd fret B, and a half step to the C, and a whole step to the D, and the D is the same as the 2nd string. And then we have our D on our 2nd string, whole step to E, a half step to F, a whole step to G, and the G is the same as our 1st string. So now on the 1st string we have the G, and a whole step to A, and a whole step to B, and a half step to C. Now, in a song like He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, we'll use the bass note C, which is found on the 3rd string, 3rd fret, and the G, which is found on the 4th string, 3rd fret. So now the song on the bass would sound like this. So you can get your ukuleles and play along with me, and I'll just play the bass parts like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got the whole world 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 in his hands. So you see, you add the bass, which is the low sounding instrument, to the ukulele, which is the high sounding instrument. And if I had 2 more hands, I would play them both together, or in class I would hand you the bass and say, here, you play the bass now. But when we introduce the bass, the key, no pun intended, to the bass is now to learn the keys, which notes to play, and of course where your notes are. So that's why we find the C and the G, and we play those 2 notes. And to extend the lesson a little bit, once we get a little bit better on the bass, we learn to apply what's called the 5th. And the 5th is simply note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 when we go up the scale. So we find the pattern on these instruments very, very interesting, very easy to find. And that is from your root, when you go up 2 frets and across down 1 string, that's where your 5th is found. So this is a very common bass pattern. So now the song would sound like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 Okay? So that's why playing the bass is always really, really fun to add it to the class like that, because it just adds that newer or that deeper dimension and a fuller sound. And of course, I'm still planning when we come back to do our recital in August, but we're going to have the ukulele bass playing with the ukuleles. We're going to have other bass playing with the guitars. We're going to have everybody playing together and having a lot of fun like that. So practice your chords, practice your strums, and if you don't have a bass, you can't be practicing a ukulele bass or even a bass for that matter. But if you have a guitar, you can use the bottom 4 strings on that guitar as your bass, because that's where the bass notes come from. So here we are with ukulele lesson number 3. Mr. Gerry signing off. Hope you're all having a fun and safe time, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.